Good evening. Welcome to Below the Skirt with Tamara. I am Tamara Green, pelvic rehab therapist, helping you live your best life below the skirt. So welcome to Below the Skirt with me. Hope your day has gone well today and is winding down. Definitely want to talk about the topic of self-care. Self-care is like really important. It's important because it does affect below the skirt issues that we have, and it can also be a game changer if it's allowing you to live your best life below the skirt or not. So my question to you is, do you put self-care a part of a priority in your life? And I want you to think about it. You can drop a message in there in the comment section, but do you put self-care as a priority? And if you say yes you do, or maybe you don't, what is your self-care? Hey Candace, how are you? What is the self-care that you do for yourself? And I'll just drop a couple things. For me, I didn't really understand the importance of self-care. For me, as being the business owner of Renewal Rehabilitation Center, I was always on the go. I was always on the go, not just being a business owner, but as a mother, as a wife, other responsibilities I had in other organizations outside of my family life, outside of work. And a lot of the times I did not put self-care in. I thought self-care meant only getting your nails done, which I'm not a big nail person, but massages or getting your hair done. I felt materialistically based on what I thought I knew what self-care was. And I realized self-care is not all of that. And I'm just checking what Candace said in here. She says, I haven't always, but I'm beginning to do so now. I actually took a nap today and spent more time being still and alone. Hey, that is awesome. I don't know the last time I took a nap. The best nap is a Sunday nap, but I don't know the last time I took a nap. So that's something that you did, Candace, which is awesome. And I just realized, and everybody can have their different definition. You can have your different definition when it comes to self-care. And I had to determine what my self-care definition was. You have to determine what your self-care definition was. And I realized just with the self-care that I was able to, I thought better. I was in a better mood. I felt like doing different things. It was a better for the whole Tamara. And yeah, I like to get massages and I like to do yoga, as y'all know that I do. But just sometimes having the alone time, like I really enjoy going in my garden. And my family knows if I'm in my garden, I'm in my bubble. 30 minutes, don't talk with me unless you're going to come help me. But that's the time that I go in, and it's for me, because for gardening, it teaches me, like when the weeds grow, you got to prune away some of the things that is not healthy in your garden. That's the same thing for each and every one of us, right? I'm also nurturing my plants. I'm looking at them. I'm talking to them. I may be singing with them. I may say I love you to them. But it's a time where I'm paying attention to my plants, or I may be in there tilting up the ground, just preparing it for the next set of vegetables or what I do vegetables for the seeds I may be planting. And just that is my self-care. It didn't have to be anything materialistic of somebody massaging me or me spending money. But it was just a time to clear my mind. Because again, as I've spoken with before in previous lives, your mind controls so many different things. And sometimes our mind just goes on this race from the everyday things. It could be from you working. It could be you juggling your children, because children's a whole different ballgame. It could be just even dealing with friends. It could just be so many different aspects where you are in your life. But we don't find that balance. And that self-care is finding the balance. Like you can be doing this, doing that, but we always put ourselves last. And if we're always running on empty, how are you going to be plentiful to yourself? How are you going to be plentiful to the community, to your loved ones? How are you going to do that? How can you help or give when you have nothing to give because you're depleted? Have you thought about that? And you may say, I have thought about that. I just may not know how to go upon doing that. And you could be, you enjoy yourself reading. You may say, hey, I enjoy going on a brisk walk. I enjoy jogging. I enjoy something with animals. It could be anything. It could be writing, journaling. It could be doing poems. And are you filling in the blanks of what your self-care is? It may be more than one thing that you do. But again, as we deal with this environment, what's going on in the world, it is a very tense time. It's always been a tense time, but it seems like it's a lot more tense now. And us being tense, stress, all that's going on, it definitely affects what below the skirt happens. And with a lot of the clients, they'll come in, they're maybe having painful intercourse. They could just be wanting to frequently urinate when they really don't have a full bladder because of anxiety and the stress that's going on. But sometimes we have to work on, I tell people, my clients, down training the pelvic floor. I'm not treating y'all, but we have to learn how to suppress ourselves. We got to come down, and we've got calm down, and we've got to know, how do we do that? What is your internal way of calming down? And that is a form of self-care. And I'll give myself an example and definitely shoot some things out there. Candace says, I love that. Self-care is about finding balance. It really, really is. It really is. And y'all are just like me, right? We're juggling many balls. There's many times that with juggling the ball, we drop some, right? And the biggest thing is not to drop the same ball over and over again. That's the key. You know, you may fall short in this area, but you're strong in this area. Sometimes you got to slow down in this area to replenish the area that attention was not given to. But the biggest things we don't give attention to is ourselves. That's the big thing. We do for everybody, we do for everything, but we don't do it for ourselves. So I had to put in some type of practice. I said, okay, if I'm going to do yoga this day, or if I'm going to garden every day at 6:30 in the morning, whatever I decided I wanted to do, I did not let anything deter me from that. Because, you know, with anything, when you taste something that's good, you want to go back to it. It's like taking a vacation. Have you taken a vacation before? When's the last time you took a vacation? It's hard to do it a little bit now, but it's like when you've gone on that vacation, say cruises. It's like you've gone there, it was great, or whatever you decided you want to do, hiking, whatever. You tasted a good thing, and it's like when you taste a good thing, you want to go back and taste it. You want some leftovers from it, right? So you're going to do everything you can for maybe next summer to do another type of vacation, right? And that's the same thing with self-care. You have to make it a priority. Things have to become a habit. And they say, 30 to 45 days is for you to be able to make a habit. Have you heard that before? So with self-care, you just have to put it in every day. And you may say, hey, this is hard for me to put it in. I don't have time. I'm trying to get the babies down, or I'm a caregiver of some other loved ones. I have so many other things I have to worry about. Or I'm working 2 jobs. I don't have time for self-care. We're below the skirt with Tamara. If you have time to have a bowel movement or take a poop, you have time for self-care. It could be to the point where you just go in your bathroom and you fill that tub up with water, right? And you're just sitting there. And you can just put a couple candles there, just a couple. Dim the lights a little bit, or keep the lights on if you're scared of the dark. Just taking some time for you. Taking that time just to get away from everything. Lock the door. Don't let the kids come in. Don't let the hubby come in. Don't let the boyfriend come in. You know how they be messing up our style. We're trying to get our own time, but everybody's always in our ear or pulling us here or there, or maybe the phone's ringing. Push it away. If you start just practicing simple things like that, you will then start learning how to set boundaries for yourself and start putting you more forward. You can start doing that. So start off with something small. It doesn't have to be big. It could just be small. It may be 15 minutes of every day. I'm going to choose a time from after I get off of Below the Skirt with Tamara, about 8:30, from 8:30 to 9:15, I'm going to read the book for 30 minutes. Read your favorite book, journal, right? Set that time up. It's very, very important. And once you start giving little increments of things, it's going to be easier to kind of make them longer, wider, right? The duration longer. And then you're going to get very protective because you're going to say, hey, if I don't get my time in for me, things ain't going to go right. It's almost like if you're hungry. I know how I am. When I'm hungry, it's like, listen, my stomach is eating my back. If I don't get something to eat, things ain't going to function. I'm going to have an attitude. I'm going to be snappy. Like, it's the same thing. So you'll start protecting that, nurturing it, and making sure that it's very imperative. And when you start relaxing yourself, taking control of yourself with your own self-care of whatever you choose that you have been doing or that you're going to start doing, you're going to realize you're going to be you'll be more of a season into this earth, more beneficial, not just for you, but you'll feel like you can give to others. You won't have that attitude. You won't. So the biggest thing is take that time, whatever it is. And I see a few of you watching. I want each one of you, you're watching me and I'm watching you. Drop in here. What is your self-care? Candace says she took a nap. And I'll give you a few seconds because you're a little bit behind me in time. But what is your self-care? And with your self-care, how often do you perform that self-care, whatever it may be? What do you do? Before the pandemic, I was doing yoga. I stopped. Then I started back. I was like, I can do this. I had 2 days a week where I did it. And I started back just last week because I started having some ooh and ah and getting out the bed. It's like things ain't where it needs to be. What is your self-care? And when you do your self-care, how does it make you feel? So Selena said, I take 1 day to leave my office for 2 to 3 hours early and do absolutely nothing. Love it. Selena, and you tell us what you do if you don't mind. Tell us what you do. Are you a business owner? I'm assuming you said my office. Yeah, definitely if you are a business owner or if you're in some type of especially leadership role, and we all are leaders in our own way. It may not be over a whole flock of people, right? We may be a leader of our household. We all are leaders. But we as leaders, sometimes we got to kind of step aside and be an Indian. Or we got to step aside, right? Because we juggle so many hats. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, and you said, so you leave the office and you give yourself 2 to 3 hours to do nothing. And again, when self-care doesn't always mean you have to do something physically, and some things are physical if that is your self-care. But there's nothing wrong with sometimes of not filling that spot of doing something, just relaxing. So I love it. I love it, Selena. Candace, you said that you feel like you're $1,000,000, so refreshed and ready to tackle the task at hand. That's right. If you're depleted, you're not going to have that energy. You're running on E. Oh, Selena, you own a cardiovascular ultrasound company. Pretty cool. Them some big words, girl. I'm just messing with you. That's awesome. And hey, I'm not trying to give shout out, but drop where you're located at. Drop where you're located at. Jackie, you said my morning power walks every day and gardening when I can. That's awesome. Exercise will definitely make you feel better. That's a good self-care. It's good for you, not just mentally, but it's good for you for your body altogether, right? And definitely gardening. I love gardening. I'm right there with you, Jackie. What do you grow? I grow bell peppers and spinach, Brussels sprouts, stuff like that, collard greens, a little bit of everything. But I noticed too, and I kind of, and I'll be honest, I kind of slacked off. You know, when the pandemic really started, I was really focused on pulling back and taking care of me. And I would exercise 5 days a week. Monday through Friday were my days. I would walk twice a week, and I would run or jog 3 days a week. And I noticed when I went to exercise, it definitely allowed my day to be fresher. I felt like, okay, once I exercise, I go hop in the shower. Hey, I'm getting it. I had so much energy. And I definitely noticed after I wasn't as intense with my my workout training that I kind of got sluggish. Then I fell off a little bit. Was under the weather for a little bit, and thank God everything is good now. And it took me a little bit to kind of pick me back up. But I definitely noticed a difference. So exercising is definitely a good self-care. There's some people who all their self-care is exercise. I mean, to each his own, but it's really, really good. Selena, back to the cardiovascular ultrasound. You're located in the heart of Columbia, South Carolina. There you go. You can find her on Instagram, Carolina Cardiac Care. And there you go, Selena. A little shout out for you. Hey, y'all listen to me. I don't mind giving some shout outs to you. Of course. I definitely realized just y'all even being here with me. And you said I asked you to drop a self-care. Maybe you didn't. But you just being in this group, listening on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock, me pouring information into you. It could be information. It could be support. That is self-care. That is you taking the time and possibly not looking at junk, because we all do a little bit of that, but pouring into you more knowledge, pouring into you more awareness just about you. So you can actually say, if you say, hey, I don't do self-care, I'm giving you an answer. It's a free one. You are doing self-care. You do self-care 1 day a week at 8 o'clock. So kudos to you. Now we need to add, that's something you're doing from a medical standpoint, but I want you to add something in for yourself that you enjoy doing. And if you say, hey, I don't know what I like to do, there's something you like to do. It could be just sitting down and watching a movie, right? That's self-care. It's something where you've chosen to do what you want to do when you want to do it and how you want to do it. And it's a way to relax your body. And Leslie said, so before Leslie, Doris said, taking a spa bath. Ooh, mama. 3 times a week and taking power walks. Spa bath. That sounds awesome. What do you do in your spa bath? Not what do you do? That was a crazy question, right, Doris? But what do you do? Is it bubbles? Is it what do you do? Bath bombs? What do you do? Because my bathtub is just water, and so that's what it is. So that sounds very relaxing. And then Leslie, you said quiet time, reading God's word. Ooh, 'tis each his own, but I definitely enjoy that as well. I definitely enjoy that. It gives me some serenity. It really does. That quiet time, that reading, that meditation, that's awesome. Shanice says, my self-care activities are getting my nails did. Go girl. Exercising. That's great. And I'm not here to judge what you do, but it's good. And then napping or absolutely nothing. There's no or in that, girl. You probably doing all 4 of them. You get it. You got 4. I got to try to catch up with you. I got 2. I have 2. So nails done, exercising, napping, and absolutely doing nothing. Again, when you, my mom always said, and I know she's watching, I see her sweet face up there. My mom, I had a brain fart. And I can say that because it's below the skirt. So I can say brain fart. I don't know what I was going to say. It'll come back because it was important. So the biggest thing is, like, there's nothing, and I watched my mom, like, growing up. It was 3 of us. I'm like, dang, how'd you do that? I only got 2. But doing that, going to work, cooking, shout out to your moms, and doing all of that, taking us to she would take us to church. She would after school programs. I mean, any and everything, sports. And she was just running around. It was like a taxi, like all day, every day. Her life was us, including her professional work. And I just remember there was times, back in the day, not back in the day, I still do it too sometimes, but she had a hardback book and my mom would stop at the light. My mom put her self-care in all the time. When she stopped at the light and she was hoping it was a long stoplight, she would stop at that light and she would open that book and start reading. And then she would close it when the green light turned on, she would go. She always read. It was like no matter how busy she was, she made sure she put it in there every day. So all I ever knew my mom to do, the biggest thing that stood out, and that's why she's so smart, she would just read. She would read. That was her self-care she did every day. But the point I'm making about just growing up and watching her, and I think about it now, she was intentional to doing what she enjoyed doing. She enjoyed reading. And I wish I had that enjoyment because I could have been a little bit smarter, but that wasn't my big thing then. I love it now. Candace says, there's no more that I know that I need. There is more that I know that I need for self-care. The Holy Spirit instructed me regarding that. I stopped doing due to mom guilt. After realizing mom guilt is a snare and to stifle me and shut me down, I've been deciding to love me better. That's beautiful, Candace. That is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We as mothers, we feel like our responsibility, and even if you're not a biological mother, you may be an aunt caring for somebody, for your nieces or nephew, or you may be a caregiver. Ultimately, we're all some type of form of caregiver in those manners. We feel guilty for not taking care of ourselves because everything else needs to be taken care of. Everybody else needs to be taken care of, right? And sometimes, unfortunately, the things that we love the most, we give so much of, sometimes it sucks us up dry like a desert. It really does. It really does. So we need to, and I'm just kind of making this stuff, I'm taking it off the fly because that's what I do sometimes. We need to be like cactus. We need to not be fully dried up. We need to keep some water in us, right? Cactus keep water in there, right? That's how they continue to grow. So if we do that by self-caring for ourselves, sometimes stepping back, it will keep us moist, maybe. And I'm not talking about moist below the skirt. It keeps us hydrated. Self-care definitely keeps us hydrated, and that mind will overpower us of saying, hey, you need to be taking care of this. You need to be taking care of that. You need to be taking care of all of these different things. And the mind plays on us and we're not taking care of ourselves. And ultimately, it makes us unhappy, right? If I'm unhappy just because I'm overwhelmed or I feel like I don't get me time, then that affects below the skirt, right? Not caring for yourself, not eating healthier, that's self-care. That makes you not drinking enough fluids. That makes you dry down there, right? You don't want to be a desert. You want to be slippery, like a slip and slide if you can, right? So it's that. It's also, it makes us tighten up, like contracting our muscles unintentionally that we're doing because we're tense, we're stressed, we're dealing with anxiety, and we all have dealt with this some point in our life. And if you say you haven't, your nose is growing like Pinocchio, because we all have. And when this coronavirus started, a lot of us had it even more. So the biggest thing I'm just really dropping in just to talk with you about is self-care. And women, we tend to be the last ones to do it. And yet, a lot of times we carry the most weight. We should have muscles like Popeye, just carrying so much. And we don't put it down. We keep going until it kind of pushes us down until, and I lie to you not. And I always try to be transparent with y'all. I always do. And Doris said bath bombs, rose petals, candles. Girl, that's so nice. I think I'm going to do that, and I'm going to take a picture of my tub and drop it in this Facebook page. I've never done rose petals in the water, y'all. Have y'all? Doris, can I be like you when I get older? I think I will. So I think the biggest thing is we carry so much. It weighs us down so much, and we feel guilty. So make sure you take that time to care for yourself. Make sure you take the time and not have a guilty conscience about caring for you, because when you self-care for you, that's another form of love, right? And actions speak louder than words, right? You can say, hey, yeah, I'm gonna care for myself. Yeah, I take care of myself. Yeah, I'm gonna do more for myself. But until you really start doing it, that's action. So y'all know I challenge y'all. I've started this whole challenge y'all every week. I want you to do something. It's like you go to school and the teacher teaches you something. You need to try to remember it. I don't want you to just remember it at this time. I want you to take this and make this a part of your life. Make it a part of your everyday doing. I challenge you. Simplicia, you're not late. You're just on time. We're talking about self-care, but you can always catch the replay. The biggest thing is self-care. I know you juggle a lot. You have a lot of responsibilities. The biggest thing is taking care of yourself, making time, not feeling guilty for taking care of you and stepping back. And just realize if you drop a ball, it's okay. It's okay to drop a ball. Just don't drop the same ball over and over again. If that means you have to drop a different ball periodically, I shuffle my balls, which one I drop, right? And if that means I have to drop this ball to do this for Tamara, then that's what I do. I just don't drop the same one over and try to make up in another way. But I remember, y'all, and I was, when I first opened my practice, and you know, when you're opening anything, you're starting something, could be starting a new job, going to school, it could be whatever. And you know, you just want it, you're trying to get it right. You want to do everything the way it needs to. You're trying to dot all those I's and cross those T's. And I remember it was a point of time, and even when you start a business, it's very, you're starting from the ground up. It may be you and just another person until the business picks up. And I remember I was working. I worked at the office, and I worked on a weekend, another part-time job. I did that, and it was almost 30 days. I remember it was like 30 or 31 days. And you know, when you don't care for yourself, it will tell on you. It will tell on you, and your body will break down. It'll break down. And I remember that time I got sick, and I was in like an urgent care or something like that. Excuse me for burping. I was in urgent care, and they hooked me up to some IV. It was just all of this stuff. And I just remember sitting there and just crying. And my husband's like, why are you crying when you're not feeling good? I was crying because I didn't take care of me. And at that moment, I realized if I don't make room for me, there's so many other people or so many other situations, my business, so many things could have been affected. And stress will take you down. It'll make you look older. And I'm not trying to look older than I need to be. I want to look my age, 38. What age you want to look? Your age, right? Or even younger. It'll take you down. And I remember I said, I won't do that again. And of course, I didn't learn, got better, still kept doing that race. But I promise you, before all of this happened in 2020, I said, I'm going to take a stand, and I'm going to take care of Tamara. And I wasn't taking care of Tamara in a bad way, but I wasn't being intentional. I was not consistent. Like, I come every day for you every Tuesday at 8. I was not consistent in making me a priority. And I specifically did that. And even though this year's been a blessing, and on top of that, this year's been a hot mess for all of us, right? In some component. This was the best that I have been in a sound mind, because I made it intentional. And because I was working on the things I did for myself, it allowed it to be a habit that I continue on. I may not do self-care 4 days a week. And remember, self-care doesn't have to be nails, all that kind of stuff. It could be whatever. It could be just taking 15 minutes today to wind down by nobody's interrupting. 15 minutes of being intentional. I make that a priority. I may have something on my agenda to do specifically for self-care, or I may just have a little spot where I just don't do anything. Self-care maybe today I will not, and I refuse to cook dinner. We're going to order out to eat. That was self-care. That was me paying, or hubby paying, and I was treating, but I didn't have to do it. We ate. That was a self-care. So make sure it's intentional. Make it a priority. And I promise you, when they say taste and see what is good, when you taste that self-care of what you do, you're not going to let it go. And I challenge you to not let it go. I'm kind of scrolling down as I wind down. Sounds divine. Candace says, that's been my issue, consistency with self-care. Yeah, things have to be, consistency is hard. That's something I always dealt with, being consistent. I was sporadic, all over the place. Nothing consistent. And start with something small, right? The whole elephant, you only can eat an elephant one bite at a time. I'm sure you've heard that before. And this is for each and every one of us. If you only have one self-care, add 2. If you have 2, add 3. If you have none, add 1. If you have none, add a half of 1. Start somewhere. So you have to bite that elephant, you have to eat it one bite at a time. And whatever that one bite is, start there. Stick with that one thing. Stick with it. And you'll start noticing it's easier to do it. And if you, first of all, and that's with anything, that's with respect, right? If you respect you as a person and you demand respect, guess what? Everybody else around you is going to respect you because you demand it. And you also give it, right? But you demand it. It's the same thing. Once you start putting in self-care and you make it a priority and you compartmentalize it and you protect it and you respect it, then in return, you're going to make everyone else around you respect what you want or what you have. You're going to make everybody respect it. So one bite at a time. And before you know it, ladies, you will be eating the whole darn elephant. Can I get a 2 snaps on that one? So, and then Candace also say, but today that ends. There you go, Candace. Today that ends. And I know Candace she's speaking on herself, but I had to say enough was enough. That's what I put in my ebook and in my course that I'm doing. Enough is enough. You have to just kind of say, hey, I'm going to be intentional. And it's 3 things. It's be intentional. So say you want to do something. You're intentionally going to make this a priority. You're intentional. You're going to be consistent. And then you're going to be, man, I'm getting a little older, y'all. I had it. That's what we should have wrote it. I should have wrote it down, right? Consistency, being persistent, and I can't figure out the last one. And I need y'all to figure out that third one. What is the third one you need it to be? And like anything, if you keep repeating it, repetition does not make you perfect, but it makes you better. And if you walk away this week and say, hey, I put in 2 or 3 times this week on my self-care, that was better than the week before because you didn't do anything, right? So definitely start there. I challenge you. And I'm going to drop something. I'm trying to be more active, y'all. I'm extrovert, little introvert, but I'm really extrovert, but still really an undercover introvert at the same time. But I'm going to put a post and just say, hey, what did you do for self-care? And I want y'all to put it in the comment. And it's not, the comment is not for me, right? I am seeing it, but we're a group. Below the Skirt with Tamara, we're a support for each other. And if you see a fellow group member saying, hey, I did this, and you haven't put anything in there, that's going to challenge you and say, hey, I need to get my game up. I need to put something in there. And if I'm not putting something in there, then I need to add something, a part of my daily routine, to make sure that I put it in there, right? So I think that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing. I challenge you. Come up with something self-care, and you will definitely, it'll make you feel better. It'll definitely make you feel like you have more control of you. It'll make you feel like you're not putting you last, putting you first at times. Sometimes we don't put ourselves first, but you're putting yourself more to the forefront. It's teaching you to be intentional. It's teaching you to be consistent. It's teaching you to be intentional. And I said that twice. All right, so it's been good. Glenda. That's my Mom Dukes, y'all. Step out. I'm doing a live, Eden. Y'all, my daughter's about to come up here and she had no shirt on. Close the door. I'm almost done. So, intentional, consistent, persistent. I told y'all she read a lot. I told you. See? There she is. Intentional, consistent, persistent. And if you do all of that, you will not fail. And you will then be able to accomplish what your goal is, and that's self-care. So I love you guys. Good to see you as always. And I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8. And if you have not gotten your ebook, y'all know I'm always messing out with that ebook. If you have not gotten your ebook, I challenge you to get it. You're going to love it. I wrote it for you. I'll drop it in the comments as well. Get your ebook, and I hope you have a good night. Be there or be square next Tuesday. Good evening.